Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, everyone. Welcome. Wherever you are on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekas. If this is your first time, please click like, subscribe, comment, share. Also, don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, don't forget to support us on Patreon at Project_Truth. Links are in the description. And today, the power of forgiveness. 3-time award-winning best-selling author of 12 books, is a dynamic speaker, trainer, and advisor, and more to come. Her latest work, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power, offers profound insights into the transformative power of forgiveness. She is recognized as one of the original founders of the independent concierge industry. Let's welcome to the seance for the first time, Katherine Giovani. Welcome, Katherine.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. Very welcome. So before we start, before we started, we kind of got a little discussion, and to segue into the forgiveness, let's a little bit of a backstory of how did this start for you? Because you got some other skills out there.
Well, the whole journey probably started when I was in the 8th grade, and I was getting horribly bullied in school, and I was different because when you hear voices in your head and you answer yourself, you're different. And it was, it became very obvious that I was the only one that could do that. So I kept that to myself because I didn't want to be stuffed into a locker. But my parents were getting a horrible divorce, and they were very pickled people. They were very much an alcoholic. So it's dysfunctional. So I tried to commit suicide because I just couldn't handle it. And so I turned into one of those teenagers, the ones I'm talking about, right? Yeah. And I kind of just bobbed through life for the next 15 years, kind of squashing my abilities, ignoring what I could do. And then my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And only my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out. We became really close. Closer than sisters. And I realized, and then she died 3 years later. Oh. And I realized very quickly that if I didn't clean my act up and get myself together, I was going to die too. So I have at last count been sober for 34 years. And my life starts then, to be honest. That was kind of the flashpoint. And I realized that I was intuitive, but when you're intuitive back in those days, dinosaurs were roaming the streets. I mean, that's how old I am. But back in those days, if you showed just a smidgen of intuition, they'd slap the "you're crazy" as a bedbug sticker on your forehead. Yeah. And you just didn't say anything because then you'd be put on meds, and it was a problem. So I kept it to myself. I didn't tell anybody. And I am one of the original founders of the independent concierge industry, and that makes me sound really smart and really good. But what it really boils down to is I'm a really good listener. The little bird on my shoulder gave me advice of where to go, and I just went. And that's kind of how it started. And I used to give people information because it downloads into my brain whether I want it to or not. And I just would switch up the words a little bit, saying, you know what you should do? Here's some advice I have for you. Yeah, no, I heard it. And forgiveness is very much a part of recovery, but nobody teaches you how to forgive. They just blanket say, do it. Well, what if you don't want to? There's a problem. And if you were shy like me, I have no desire to reach out to people. At least I didn't back then. It was 30 something years ago. I'm kind of I'm an extroverted introvert at this point, but that's how it all started. It was like the flash when my mother died, and I realized that I had to make a choice.
Wow. And you're right. We're always taught to forgive. First place is church.
Oh, yeah. Very
First
big.
place is church.
Oh, yeah.
And the spiritual sector is you got to forgive. You got to forgive. But even the church doesn't really
No,
teach you
Jesus
how
said
to forgive.
you have to forgive 70 times 7. Okay, I'm in. How?
Yeah.
And then the problem is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being an unforgivable dumpster fire and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, everybody watching and listening to this broadcast is thinking of their number 10. And you want to forgive your number 10, and they might be unforgivable, which means that's fair. You don't want to forgive them. That's fair. So what do? Well, in my system, I want you to start with the number 1s, the easy ones to toss, and you work your way up to the number 10s. That's part of the system.
Yeah.
And the other part is what everybody doesn't know about, the special sauce to the whole thing, is nobody thinks to forgive the energy. Einstein proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing into another. And everything, including this microphone in front of me, has energy around it. So you forgive the person and you forgive the energy around the person. Forgive yourself, the energy around yourself, and the energy around the whole thing. So you can forgive anything, people, places, things, anything. And energy is what will help people stay forgiven, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, what makes your forgiveness method? Yeah. Can't speak today. What makes your forgiveness method different from
everybody else's?
If there are others out there, I'm not familiar with them, but others.
There's really not, to be honest with you. The fact that I have a system, and in the book, I have the audio book available, the paperback, blah, blah, blah. I've got worksheets, all that kind of stuff. But the system is designed to help you forgive. And the reason it's different is because nobody thinks to forgive the energy. And here's why you probably want to do that. Everybody says anger is toxic. Okay, how? See, nobody teaches us how. They just give these blanket things and expects us to understand it. Nobody says us how. And you can Google this. It's right online. And there's a Japanese researcher, and I know this is not his name, but it's something like Matsumoto or something like that. And I'm going to simplify this pretty much. He studied water. So he took several containers of water. One container of water, he spoke nice things. He didn't do anything else except he spoke love to it, said beautiful words to it. The other container of water, nasty things, horrible things, berated it, said awful things. Then he froze it, and then he put it under a microscope. The water that he said nasty things had these black and brown nasty formations. And the water he spoke love to, beautiful snowflake formations. Why am I telling you this? The human body is almost 98% water. So when your self-talk is bad or you're holding on to anger, what do you think it's doing to the water cells in your body? It's making you sick.
Yeah.
So by forgiving the energy, by forgiving the people, and by starting with the easy people, like the person who stole your sandwich in work the other day, you can forgive that person. The person on I-95 South who cut you off, you can forgive that person. How about the person who took your parking spot in the grocery store? You can forgive that person. Start with the easy ones. And that's going to start changing the cells in your body, and you're going to start to feel better. So by the time you get to the dumpster fire, and we could talk about how to forgive the dumpster fire, unforgivable people, but you'll be better prepared for it because you're going to start to feel better. 100%.
If somebody that did happen to me. Someone stole my sandwich out of the refrigerator long ago. But I figured they needed it more than I did.
Right.
And that was a way for me to convince, I forgive you. Whoever it was, you needed it a lot more than I did.
But that's the thing. It's an easy person to forgive.
Yeah.
And what does forgiveness mean? Forgiveness, the definition that I have is it means I want you out of my head. That's it. I want you out of my head. I'm thinking about you. It's taking off over my life. I want you out of my head. Here's a visual for me. And for anybody listening to this broadcast, I'm about to hold a purple coffee cup in front of my face. You might want to hop over to YouTube and watch the presentation. But this cup, when I first get angry, this can represent anger. It can represent bitterness. It can represent all of that kind of stuff. And look at my body language. I still have one arm open. I can have a conversation. I can go out to dinner. I can go to work. I can manage my anger. It's easy because I have it off to the side. But the more I hold on to it, now I've got two hands holding on to the cup. Well, now it's starting to get into my brain and it starts to affect my conversations. And if I hold on to it too long, now I can't even see you. It's right in front of my face. It's all I'm thinking about. It's all I'm talking about. And even if I make the stories funny, I'm still talking about it.
Yeah.
So I'm missing my dream job that just walked in, or my dream significant other, because I'm so focused on the anger. They walked right by me and I didn't pay attention. So by forgiving the easy people, starting on that side of the spectrum, it's going to allow you to start to pay attention again. Pay attention. Maybe you'll find a way to make money. Maybe you'll find a new way to lose weight. There's a reason to buy the book. You might drop some weight. It's going to allow you to pay attention and become the person you were always meant to be. It's going to allow you to live your life again.
Yeah. And speaking of book, I'll bring the book up here so people can see it. And again, if you're listening, watch us on YouTube or Rumble. And you can actually see what the book looks like. And the book is, The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do you forgive? How do you forgive the unforgivable?
Sometimes, in my humble opinion, there are some things that are unforgivable. 100%. So what do you do if you have an unforgivable thing in your life that's tripping you up? Well, there's a reason why I call it a dumpster fire, because I want you can forgive anything. I forgave 1974, the whole year. Now, why did I forgive 1974 and the energy around 1974? Because it was a horrible year. That's the year I tried to commit suicide. And I picked apart all of those memories and I forgave all the players in the year, but it was still tripping me up. So I forgave the actual year. Let me give you another example. Let's say you're driving down the road. You stop at a red light. You turn your head to the right, and that's a school that you went to as a kid, and you were bullied in that school. But the memory goes right into your head. So by the time you get to work, you're just kind of discombobulated. You're in a bad mood. You're chopping people's heads off. Why? Because the memory came up. So how do you fix that? Well, you can go back to that memory and you can think about the school, forgive the energy around the school, forgive the desk, the table, the chair, the light, the playground, forgive the people who were around you that didn't do anything, and the energy around all these things. And that's going to take some of the energy away so you can live again. So if we're dealing with somebody who's unforgivable, I'm the only one that'll ever tell you, you don't have to forgive the unforgivable. You don't, because there's other things, people, places, and things within that memory that you can forgive. Mm-hmm. You can forgive yourself and the energy around yourself for anything you may or may not have done. You can forgive, again, the table, the bed, the chair, the park, the date, the building, the sofa, the furniture, the people. There's so many other things within that dumpster that you can pick apart. So it's like running into a brick wall. I know a lot of speakers talk about that brick wall. I'm not trying to bash them. Really, I'm not. But everybody talks about this wall that we all kind of fall into. Okay, well, pull out a few bricks out of the wall, walk around the dumb thing, keep going. Forgive what you can and keep going. Even if you can only say this, I forgive myself for not being able to forgive. Even if that's the only thing you can do, that's still progress. It's like forgiveness is like an onion, and you're going to peel back layers. You can't get a number 10 person down to a 1 overnight. It's going to take a minute. It's going to take a few weeks to get them down, because you're going to peel back that first layer and memories are going to pop up. Why? Because your brain is a powerful, amazing tool, and it protects you. Yeah. So you've forgotten certain aspects of things purposely. And as you forgive the layers, the memories are going to come out. Many people call this shadow work because you're working on forgiving stuff that's in the shadows, it's in your past, but it will change your life.
And as an intuitive and medium myself, I tell this to people too, and you probably agree with this, is by doing the work as a medium or an intuitive, you have to be able to step away from yourself.
Yeah.
That's one of the key things, meditation and being able to step away from yourself.
Right.
Not only that, but yet I think some level of empathy is kind of required for forgiveness, because that's how I use it, is stepping away from myself and viewing the situation outside of my ego, outside of the ego self, and becoming that other thing,
right,
or person. And with the empathy, it'll hit you like a wall in another way.
And darn wall.
You'll start to feel like, wow, I understand why he, she, it, why
Sure.
that was the way it was. And then the forgiveness seems to kind of just happen.
It does. And it's a mantra that I'm a very simple soul. So you don't have to dance on one leg or hold any crystals unless you want to. I mean, it's all good, but it's a very simple little poem. And one of the things that people ask me, and I'm going to just answer it right now, is yes, you may forgive dead people because it doesn't matter where they are. There's a few things. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't.
Yeah.
Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass. You're still wrong. You're still a dumpster fire, and I probably still don't like you. What it means is I need to be free. I want you out of my head. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. Forgiveness is selfish. It's the ultimate selfish act. So forgiving somebody who's passed away, it doesn't mean that your chance is gone. They're still living in your head rent free. So by forgiving these people, you can literally change your past. I had a rough background. I had a rough childhood. Now I can look back at my childhood and I can pick out the pockets of love that were there. I can pick out the laughter. Do I remember the bad stuff? I can if you want me to, but I really don't. I've literally changed the shades of the past because I've forgiven almost all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. How do you, I'm trying to think, what are some common misconceptions about forgiveness?
Well, people say if I forgive them, it means they were right. That's a big hurdle for people. If I forgive you, I'm giving in. On some level, they think they're giving in. What you're doing is you're taking your power back. Yeah. If I forgive you, it means I love myself enough that I want out. I want you out of my head. I want to live my life again. And the thing about forgiveness is the person you're mad at probably has no idea you're mad, and they're living their life. They're going to work. They're having a great time. They're not thinking about you at all, which kind of pisses everybody off, doesn't
it? Yeah.
But you are the victim here in more ways than one. So by forgiving, and if you can't forgive the person, that's totally fine. Forgive yourself. Forgive the other parts of the memory, the people, the energy, the place, the time. Forgive other parts of that memory. You don't have to forgive the person. Maybe they're good, unforgivable, but forgiving yourself. Now that's a huge one as well. And the energy around all of these things is going to be enough to give your life back again. You can get your life back. And how do you know you've forgiven somebody? You can go on Facebook or see their name or go to Thanksgiving with the relatives and see this person and you have no emotional charge. You know you've forgiven them. You don't think great. You don't think bad. You literally don't care. It's neutral. There's no emotional charge there. You don't care. The memories don't pop up anymore. You just got to go, ah.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've completely forgiven. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for neutrality. You're not going to forget. Nobody forgets, but you won't care. And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. And and like you said, the energy changes. The field changes when you're in that, around the person or thing. But it seems like that is one of the other big misconceptions too, is people always think that forgiveness always has to revolve around another individual. And it doesn't.
No, it's all about you. And it follows you. When you get mad, what does everybody think? They think it leaves your mouth and it magically dissipates into the universe. It sadly does not. It hangs in your energy field. And here's, I could stretch your audience's brains just a little. I promise it won't hurt too bad. If you had something traumatic happen in a past life, that follows you too. And it follows you and it can affect you in this lifetime until you forgive it. And you won't even know it until you run across somebody like me who can pull out that past life and help you heal it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even through past life regression hypnosis or working with an NLP, neuro linguistic programming. There's all different. I have yet to try that though. The past life.
I do it a little differently. My angels give me the past life that is tripping the person up the most, and I'll kind of get a vision of it, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And I could give you an example. Client of mine called me and he was having this horrible time. He was a cop, a federal law enforcement officer, and he just couldn't sleep. He tried everything. He was at the end of his rope. And he said, I understand why people commit suicide, because I'll do anything. I'll try anything. I'll say anything. He was at the end of his rope. He tried everything. He tried meds. He tried tapes. He tried everything. Couldn't work. So I got this vision of this couple lying in a bed, and he was the sheriff of a town. And I got the feeling that she was stepping out on him and having an affair with somebody else in the town. He was the sheriff, and she smothered him in his sleep with a pillow and killed him.
Whoa.
Okay, well, that's probably why you can't sleep, and that's probably why you're having so much trouble with relationships, because you don't trust women. I wouldn't either if somebody killed me in my sleep. I'd have a real hard time with it. So after we talked about it, and then I had him go through my forgiveness mantra and forgive the wife and forgive all the players within that lifetime, he started to sleep through the night, and he started to go out and he started to date again. So it's just an example of how one of your past lives can really affect how you're doing. So I don't do it through hypnosis. The angels just kind of give it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's a large group of people who still don't believe in past lives. They just think this is the only life that we have, but
that's a pretty serious stance to take, but okay.
Yeah, I've met a lot, and I'm like, you got to watch the seance.
I hid what I could do. When I say I hid what I could do for almost 45 years, I'm actually not joking. I really did. Nobody knew what I could do. I literally hid it until 2020, and I'm 63. And the reason I hid it is because when you're in business, you can't admit what you can do. You get people's past lives. I can heal them. I'm a medium. I can talk to dead people. I hear the little bird. I hear voices in my head. They'll think you're crazy. And you don't put that in a business. I'm one of the founders of the concierge industry. So nobody knew. But everybody kind of looked at me and they couldn't understand why I always had the right answer and why I always knew how to steer somebody. Well, because I was being given the information. I just was flipping the language. So everybody on the planet, I've written a lot of books, 12. And one of the books I wrote was The Little Bird in Your Shoulder. And everybody on the planet, even the people who think this is the only lifetime they've ever been, everybody's intuitive. You either see it, hear it, feel it, or know it. Everybody. And it doesn't matter. 10 out of 10 people, everybody listening is intuitive. It's just a matter of, do you realize it? I was just born with the volume at full blast, that kind of thing. I just kind of came into this lifetime knowing these things. Some people don't, but everybody can do it. Have you ever walked into a room and it just feels off? Mm-hmm. You can't explain it. Or you're driving down the road and all of a sudden you just get this feeling that you should turn right instead of left. Or maybe you get the feeling I shouldn't take that airplane. So you switch your flight and the airplane crashes your original flight. These are things that happen in the excitement and the dramatic of the moment, but you can learn to do it purposely like I do and like you do.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of figuring out, do you hear it, feel it, see it, or know it, and then just concentrating on it, because everybody does this. Absolutely everybody.
Yeah. Everybody has a mediumship ability, an intuitive side. Everybody. It's just.
Can you imagine if Fortune 500 companies allowed people to be who they really were and allowed people to be intuitive? Can you imagine what that would do for the company?
We wouldn't need
Can you
AI.
imagine if people like me didn't hide it? Think about what could happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Artificial intelligence would be out of a job.
Right. Well, now everybody I used to work for is a little shocked. It's like, well, surprise.
Right. So before we move forward, how can people find you?
You could go to my website, which is KatherineGiovani.com. And Katherine, thanks to my mother, is spelled a little different. And it's Katharine Giovani.com. You can go to Amazon, and this particular book, the Forgiveness book, is in paperback, audiobook, and it's also in ebook form.
Cool. How does forgiveness impact mental health?
If you're so focused on your anger, it's going to sink you. I mean, I am a survivor of suicide, and you're so focused on your anger, it doesn't leave room for anything else. And it's like, it's kind of like quicksand, because the more you think about it, the lower you sink. And then it's really hard to dig yourself out of it, unless it usually takes a friend or somebody I had a friend who pulled me out, but the more you do it, the more you sink, and you can't really see the sun beyond the forest at that point. And when you forgive, it kind of cracks your armor a little bit, and it lets a little bit of light through. And then you forgive a few more people, and a little more light comes through. And then you forgive a few more people, and all of a sudden maybe the world isn't as bad as I thought. And you start getting a little taste of gratitude, and you start getting a little taste of positivity. And before you know it, you're halfway out of the quicksand and feeling better.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems too that for someone teaching forgiveness or learning forgiveness is in a way too of kind of, I wouldn't say change, lack of a better word or description, changing our perception of this false reality that we have around us or that we've created on ourselves.
It's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. And literally just opening up the curtain and going, whoa. But I would assume that the recipe is in this book, is how teaching you. I mean, the stuff that we're talking right now, these are hints. These are hooks. These are breadcrumbs. These are things to, get everybody involved and go, okay, now I want to learn. How do I learn to do it?
Well, one of the things the book is going to have you do is I want you to sit down and I want you to write a list of all the people that you think you need to forgive. And if some places and buildings and things get on the list, let them. Mm-hmm. Let them. A friend of mine wrote down a little red wagon. She had no memory of a little red wagon, no idea why she wrote it down, but she forgave the little red wagon because she knew part of her brain was probably angry at the darn thing. So she forgave a little red wagon. Needless to say, it was a number 1 on her 10 scale. Real easy, right? But then I want you to slowly, in 10-person increments, I want you to slowly go through the list. Now, why am I saying only do 10 at a time before you go to bed? I am an overachiever. Shocker. And when I first came up with this method with my friends, we came up with this method around 2021. There's 3 of us. And I thought, I got my list, and there must have been 50 or 60, listings on there. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And I'm going to be like a butterfly. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and everything's going to be fixed. That didn't work out that way. Remember the water study and how you need to change your cells? Well, I spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. I had forgiven too many people, and my body just had to play catch up. Because when you forgive, the energy needs to leave, which is why I want you to do it before bed, because your body heals itself when it sleeps. But if you only do 10 at a time, some of you might be in the bathroom. You didn't eat a piece of bad fish. It's just your body trying to clear out some very old toxic anger. And you just have to let it happen. Most of you will get sleepy. Some people get hungry, but you might feel your shoulders light. You might feel some energy leaving your solar plexus, but everybody will be affected by the energy. Now, the forgiveness energy will work whether you believe it in it or not. It's like the law of gravity. I can call the law of gravity the law of keeping Katherine on the planet. It doesn't care. It's still going to work. Okay, I don't believe in the law of gravity. Still doesn't care. Still going to work. So when I did this, I picked a friend of mine from grammar school. And I thought, easy peasy. I can forgive this person. Couldn't even remember what we were mad at. Hadn't spoken to them in 40 years. That's how old I am. So I forgave her. And 2 hours later, she calls me up on the phone. I almost fell out of my office chair at this point, but I'm a concierge and my concierge training kicked right in. So I hit it as I want to do. And so we said all the right words and made all the right noises and we reminisced and we became friends again. But then I had to know. I said, after all these years, we were 700 miles apart. I said, after all these years, why did you pick today to call me? She said, Katherine, it was the weirdest thing. 2 hours ago, which was exactly when I was saying the mantra in my book, a figurine you gave me in school flew off my shelf, landed in the middle of the room, and I saw it and figured I should give you a call. So if forgiveness has the power to change your cells, the water cells in your body, and move a figurine off a shelf 700 miles away, can you imagine what it'll do to your life?
Spooky action.
And that was for a level 1 person. Can you imagine what it would do to somebody you rate a 5 or a 6?
Yeah. Wow.
This is life-changing.
Yeah, that explains Einstein's thought of entanglement, spooky action at a distance, because your energy was still entwined of that figurine, connected with her energy.
Yeah.
And even though you probably didn't even know that existed anymore.
No, I didn't.
That energy was still connected to it. And then part of that energy that was connected to it mingled with yours, picked it up. It was like a magnet, a negative and negative side of a magnet. Boom. Hitting each other.
Smacked it right off the shelf.
Yeah. Wow. Whoa. People thought it was a ghost. It wasn't a ghost. It was you.
It was not a ghost. It was the forgiveness energy. I mean, this is change your life stuff. Yeah. And why couldn't your life change before? Well, let's put my purple teacup in front of my face again. It's because you're so focused on the anger, you're not paying attention. I can't tell you how many times the angels will say, stay the course, pay attention, pay attention. I used to hear it a lot. And you're not paying attention because you can't, because you're so focused on the pain that you can't. I'm a breast cancer survivor, 12 years cancer free. Yay.
Heck
but
yeah.
I forgave cancer and the energy around I forgave the word cancer. I forgave the chemo chair, radiation. I forgave the doctors. I forgave all of that. I forgave every aspect of it that I could absolutely think. The chemo chair, the people in the room, the doctors, the chemo infusion bag. I mean, I forgave all of it. You can forgive anything. You can forgive, shall I dare say, politicians. You can forgive cities. You can forgive the Middle East and their wars. Is it going to help stop the wars in the Middle East that have been doing that since I was a kid? No, but it sure is going to do a lot for you, because if you watch the news at night and you're constantly getting angry at the news or the pharmaceutical companies that have all the advertisements, forgive them. Forgive the commercials. Forgive the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop the advertisements, but it's sure going to help you, because it's going to remove that emotional charge.
And depression.
So you can pay attention to the stuff that you should be paying attention to.
Yeah. Because if you're not angry at it, you're depressed at it. It's like some of the stuff on the news just makes you depressed. You just want to shut it off.
And you can also forgive things you're depressed at. You don't have to be angry at something to forgive it. You can, if that just makes you feel bad, forgive it.
Yeah. Before we close the show too, is any breakthrough story? Give us one breakthrough that whether
I think
yourself or somebody else.
I think the biggest breakthrough story was when I first discovered this. It took a while for me to forgive my parents, and once I was able to forgive my parents, it's like when I realized that I could look back at my childhood and not remember the pain. I think that was the thing that shocked me the most. And then my business started to increase. So I started to make money again. And I thought forgiving something in my personal life directly relates to my business. I couldn't understand why the two were related, but it was. And I think that was probably for me was the biggest aha moment. Forget the forgiveness part is when I could finally forgive my parents and my life started to open up again.
Yeah. Our lives are too important. There's so much ahead of us in our lives to allow the weight of some sort of anger, depression, anything that is connected to us from someone else or something else.
Right.
That is keeping that's in the way. That being a roadblock. I mean, life is worth more than that.
And if you want to be more intuitive, start the forgiveness journey, because the more people I forgave, the more intuitive I became. I didn't know that I could get people's past lives until 2022. And that was long after I'd started my forgiveness journey. It's like the anger was clogging up the pipes. And the more people I forgave, the more intuitive I became and the more my gifts came through. So if you want to be more intuitive, start the forgiveness journey.
Yeah. Learn to forgive and meditation.
Yes, meditate.
Definitely meditation. So before we wrap up, what would you like to offer as a takeaway for our audience today?
I think it's more some advice, and it's really mostly for the women who are listening, because women have this worthy problem. But I think I'd like to tell everybody that you are worthy enough to live a life of joy and happiness. It's your birthright. You are worthy, and you can do this. And forgiving yourself is just so important. And the way I forgave myself is I compartmentalized, I think that's the right word. And I looked back and I could look at that teenage Katherine and I could look at the way she lived her life, and she became the person she needed in order to survive. I can forgive that kid. And then I could look at 20-year-old Katherine and I could think about what she did and how the mistakes she made, but she did the best she could with the tools she had at the time. I can forgive that kid. And I kind of compartmentalized myself as I went through the decades. And you can do this. It's your birthright. Everybody thinks that Mother Teresa used to work in the streets of Calcutta, and everybody assumes that she was poor as a church mouse and it was the only thing she could do. Mother Teresa came from a really rich family. Nobody knows this. She chose to be that way because she was Mother Teresa. But you can do this. Everybody can do this. You're not limited to the person you were at birth. You can be who you want to be.
Yeah.
And you are worthy for it.
Absolutely. And forgiveness is the greatest gift that our Creator has given us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Every day you wake up is a brand new day that you can change your life. The person who you were yesterday, that's yesterday. Today is a new day. You're a brand new person.
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself a little bit of a break.
Yes. Yeah. Katherine, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Humbled to have you with us today. Definitely. And for those who are listening or watching, go get her book. It includes a step-by-step process on how to forgive. And the book is called The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Powers. And you can find it on Amazon, also on your website, KatherineGiovani.com, KATHARINE.
Thanks, Mom.
I learned the hard way because I misspelled it wrong.
It's all
By
good.
one letter. May
All
I have
good.
another? May I have another vowel, Pat?
You get the K right. Pick your favorite spelling. It doesn't bother me at all anymore.
Right?
The only reason I say is because the internet with a website, it kind of matters how you spell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although my husband, God bless him, he got the domain name for Katherine spelled wrong. So that one of the misspellings leads to my website. Smart guy.
Oh man, that is interesting.
Right? He sat down there and actually thought about it. It was funny.
Yeah. Wow. Katherine, namaste. Thank you again, my friend.
Namaste.
And keep us
Thanks
posted.
so much.
With 12 books, man, we could have 12 episodes.
We could.
Hey, welcome
I'll
back anytime.
come back anytime.
Definitely. Let's stay in touch.
All right. Thanks
Cool.
so much. I appreciate it.
You were very, very welcome. Thank you, everybody, for watching Conscious Radio Network's The Seance. And until next time, we'll see you then.